Facebook founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg meeting with prominent conservative leaders on Wednesday in California. One of the attendees is my guest. This is Risk and Reward. I'm Deirdre Bolton. Gizmodo published allegations that Facebook has an anti-conservative bias in its news feed. Mark Zuckerberg says that's untrue and is setting the meeting as an exercise in best practices. My next guest is the first campaign aide that we know is going. It is Trump's senior campaign advisor, Barry Bennett. So what do you expect from this meeting? Because it's one thing for Mark Zuckerberg to say he's not aware of bias or he doesn't support bias, but at least according to one other source, it is very much alive and well.
Yeah, well, you know, we're all going to be from Missouri, right? We want to show me. Show me. You know, but Facebook is an incredibly important tool to politics these days. It's by far our least cost-effective way to communicate with millions and millions of people. And we rely on it, and we rely on them to be straight down the middle.
To your point about Facebook's power, I mean, it has more than 1 billion daily users, so it is worth your time and energy to go out there and talk to Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah,
it has exploded at the political front. I mean, 4 years ago, 8 years ago, you know, it was kids, you know. Now I can't get my mom off of it, right? She's probably on right now. So that's a great way for us to talk to our voters as Republicans for the first time this cycle. And we spend a lot of our treasure and our time using Facebook, and we just want to make sure that it's all fair.
So when you speak about fairness, Mark Zuckerberg made a speech and there was a thinly veiled reference to Donald Trump and the idea of the wall. So just to be clear, Mark Zuckerberg, as you know, did not name Donald Trump by name, but he talked about the wall, and it was in a critical tone.
Right.
So is this an issue that you're going to bring up with him either when you're with the group or when you're one-on-one?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when it comes to business issues, of course, they should have their opinion. On non-business issues, they got to act like what they are. They're not a tech company anymore, right? They are the world's largest publisher. And reporters don't make political donations, and reporters don't join political causes. Reporters play down the middle, and that's where I think they need to be.
So, Barry, you have been in politics for 30 years. You know what you are doing. It is why Trump has brought you on board. What is your goal for the campaign from this meeting? If there's one thing you want to get out, what is it?
I want to be absolutely certain that there are no shenanigans going on. And they have explained it away to me, but I want to go see it. I want to see the algorithm, see the people, and I want to hear it from Mark.
So speaking of other people, I'm just going to read off, you already know this, but for our viewers, other attendees who will be there. The Blaze's Glenn Beck, Fox's Dana Perino, Arthur Brooks of the American Enterprise Institute, CNN conservative commentator S.E. Cupp, Zach Moffett, and former Senator Jim DeMint. Now, some of these people are conservatives, some are anti-Trump conservatives.
Yeah.
How are you going to manage that in the room? Some people are for your candidate and some people are against.
Hopefully we won't be sitting next to each other on the plane. No, it's fine. I mean, you know, we all care deeply about the cause in the end. We can have disagreements over primaries, but I think we'll all come together.
Okay, so you don't think that any inter-party divisions are going to fracture to a disadvantage of the group and the advantage of Mark Zuckerberg?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. He's got some hard selling to do with that group.
Okay. Were more pro-Trump people, such as obviously you're very high-ranking, but what about supporting the flanks a bit, invited? Or was it very specific that Facebook only wanted a certain amount of people in the room?
Well, they wanted it to be small so we could have a good give and take. But I was invited primarily because of the amount of Facebook activity that I did while we were at the Carson campaign, where it was a huge piece of our campaign, and now we're starting to do that here at the Trump campaign. So, you know, I believe it's a massive tool, a tool for good, as long as it's played right down the middle.
Played right down the middle. Facebook employees, this has nothing to do with Zuckerberg per se, but have given $114,000, that is to say personal political contributions to Hillary Clinton, none to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Is that something you're going to bring up?
Well, I think that as they become less of a tech company, more of a publishing company, they need to be concerned about that. You know, the New York Times editorial board, even they don't make contributions. And I would accuse them of a big slant. You know, I think that they need to be more cognizant of what they're doing.
All right, speaking of the New York Times, a former girlfriend of Donald Trump actually blasted the New York Times for allegedly fabricating part of her story. Here's what she told us.
They told me several times, and my manager several times, that it would not be a hit piece, and that my story would come across the way that I was telling it, and honestly, and it absolutely was not. They did take quotes from what I said, and they put a negative connotation on it. They spun it to where it appeared negative. I did not have a negative experience with Donald Trump.
So that's very clear. And she goes in to tell more of the story of that evening. But does the New York Times just not think that someone's going to come out and correct the record? And I mean, she told us, I haven't spoken to any of the other women who were referenced, and I haven't called the New York Times, and I haven't called Trump, but I want my story to be told and represented fairly.
I mean, isn't it interesting that they victimized a woman in a story about, women? I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, they did print her quotes, but what they did is they wrapped them in these paragraphs, and they said that she was debased by Donald Trump. Debased was the word they used. She was not debased, and she would be the first to tell you that.
No, and she very clearly and courageously did, because I think that takes something to come forward. As soon as you come forward, you're going to be a target.